Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. On this channel, we spend our time looking at fantasy of all sorts, from books to movies to video games, and applying the characters within into the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Today, though, we're going to be looking at a core mechanic of D&D itself, specifically the subclass to the fighters known as the Battle Master. The Battle Master is the master of tactics. The Battle Master is the one that leads the other troops into fights and into combat and uses special maneuvers in order to enhance their powers in battle along with the powers of their allies. The combat maneuvers the Battle Master gets are varied, so let's talk about them in detail. Now, right at level 3, you get your combat superiority dice and your combat superiority maneuvers. This means that you're going to have a consumable item, similar to Monk's Key Points, Bardic Inspiration, etc. The maneuver dice are going to be d8s at the beginning, although they'll go up later, and these dice can be added or spent depending on the maneuver that you use. You get a few maneuvers at the low levels, and then you add more as you level up, just as you add more superiority dice as you level up. Some of the key options in combat maneuvers, they add to your combat prowess or to the prowess of your enemies, or your allies, rather. Some prime examples, you have disarming attack, which allows you to use your superiority dice to try to get your enemies to drop their weapons. Feinting attack, which allows you to use your bonus action to have advantage against creatures on your next turn. You've got parry, which allows you to use your reaction to damage creatures that hurt you. Or riposte, when a creature misses you with an attack, you get to damage them with your reaction. There's trip attack, which allows you to knock enemies prone. And this is all on top of your regular attacks. These are pretty much all things that you use either your reaction, your bonus action, or that you just do on top of your regular maneuvers, your regular attacks and movement. This is all pretty good stuff, and honestly, combat maneuvers are game-changing. I give this power, the combat superiority power, a 10 out of 10. There's nothing that is wrong here. I mean, there are a couple maneuvers that aren't as good as others, but they all have a place somewhere in combat. Next up, you get the Student of War, which gives you a tool proficiency. And there's some good tool proficiencies. Fighters don't get any naturally, so it's nice to have one, but it doesn't really add a whole lot to the class as a whole, so I give that a 6 out of 10. Then comes the Know Your Enemy power. This gives you the ability to learn details about a creature when you spend a minute observing them. These details can be their strength, their dex, their con scores, their armor class, their hit points, lots of combat-oriented details, and you learn how they relate compared to you, whether they're greater or inferior to you in those specific ways. You pick a few of them. This is okay in very, very specific circumstances. Like, this is the sort of thing that, I mean, it's really tough to talk about it because it's good when you're in, like, a war campaign, when you're talking to, like, enemy generals and you want to know if you're stronger than them. But most of the time, when you're going to be fighting someone, you don't have a minute to observe them. Most of the time when you fight someone, this doesn't come up. This is the sort of thing that is very roleplay heavy and doesn't really impact the mechanics of the game that much. It will come up very occasionally in the right campaign, but honestly, this could have been a lot better. This could have been one of those things where, you know, like in my head, a way to do this correctly would be during the fight with an enemy, if you take a blow from it, then you would be able to, like, use a reaction or something, if you didn't have anything else to use it for, to learn its strength score. Or when you hit something, you could use, like, one of your superiority dice, maybe, to learn their hit points, so you would know, like, what was left. That would have been a better use for this, but as it stands, this just isn't going to happen. I give this ability a 4 out of 10. It really could have been a lot better, and I'm disappointed in it. Then, at 10th and at 18th level, you're going to get the improved combat superiority dice. This just makes your superiority dice go up to D10s at level 10 and D12s at level 18. This is good. This just enhances the already powerful combat superiority. I give this 10 out of 10. And then finally, the Relentless Power, which is a level 15 ability. This is one of those standard subclass abilities where if you roll initiative and you have no superiority dice left, you get 1 back, which again is a pretty typical high-level feature for classes with consumable stuff in it. And the Battlemaster is no exception, which gives them a 9 out of 10, because that's really handy at the high levels. When you're out of superiority dice, having 1 in your back pocket is always good. So that's it. Honestly, if it wasn't for the Know Your Enemy feature, this would be much, much higher. As it stands, I give it an 8 out of 10. The maneuvers are fantastic, and well worth playing the Battlemaster for. That Know Your Enemy feature just kind of disappoints me on a lot of different levels. So I give this a solid 8 out of 10. And if you just ignore that other feature, it would have been much higher, banking on 10 out of 10. But only 10 out of 10s are only given to subclasses that have basically no problems, no wasted abilities. And unfortunately, I think Know Your Enemy is a bit of a waste. But 8 out of 10, strong 8 out of 10, highly recommend the Battlemaster. It is one of the good ones when it comes to the fighter. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes open for more subclass reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.